Welcome to Pikes Peak, one of the most iconic mountains in America. In the late 1800s, they decided, you know what? We need to build a railroad track up to the top of Pikes Peak, let people go up there and enjoy the natural beauty. So 13 months later, in 1891, the first steam locomotive took off, carrying people to the top of Pikes Peak and back again. Now, behind me is steam locomotive number 2. It was built in 1893, and it hauled people up and down the mountain for many, many years. You start your trip out to the top of Pikes Peak at the Cog Railway Depot. Now, realize parking is limited, so if you want to park by the depot itself, you've got to get there early, and parking is $20. However, the city of Manitou Springs offers several free parking lots with complimentary shuttle service to the rail depot. Now, this is the cog train that takes you to the top of the mountain. Underneath the bottom of the engine, there is a round cog that turns like this, not like this. And it intertwines with the trail that's in the center of the track, and that pulls the train up the mountain. So we got loaded up, settled in, and started our trip up Pikes Peak. Now, neither my wife Pam nor I really knew what to expect. I've got to tell you, it makes you a little nervous to trust your life to a train that keeps going up a pretty steep mountain because of a cog that intermeshes with a track on the ground. But upward we went. Standing at 14,115 feet above sea level, Pikes Peak is known as America's Mountain. It was named after Army Lieutenant Zebulon Pike, an explorer sent by President Thomas Jefferson in 1806 to explore the newly acquired Louisiana Territory. On the way up, we made some friends with some folks who were sitting across from us. Okay, we're with our new friends Jim and Ginger. Now, y'all are from where?
Quincy, Illinois.
Illinois?
Yes.
Is this your first time ever up here?
No, we've been here a few times, but never on this cog railroad.
You drove?
Yeah.
So you didn't fall off the edge?
No.
You know, it's kind of funny. Jim and Ginger have been to the top of Pikes Peak 3 times. But Zebulon Pike never actually went to the top of the mountain that bears his name. He referred to it as the Great Peak. And while he attempted to climb it, snow and lack of supplies forced him and his party to turn around. But little did he know, this incredible mountain would later become a symbol of exploration and the American West. For centuries, the Ute Indian tribe called the mountain Tava, which means Sun Mountain. They believed the mountain had great spiritual significance. Now, here's a pro tip for you. When you get on the train to go up to Pikes Peak, sit on the left-hand side where there are the 3 seats, because that's a much better view. Also, there's one other thing I want to warn you about. As you go up some of the steeper grades, which can get up to 25%, if you're sitting in a seat riding backward and you're not careful, you can fall into the lap of the person sitting across from you. Our new friend Ginger leaned toward me a little bit to take a picture, and well, she fell right in my lap. As you continue up Pikes Peak, at the bottom you'll see lots of trees and vegetation. But the higher you go, the more sparse the trees and vegetation will become. Because, well, the more hostile the environment becomes. When you go up some of the steeper grades, you can really hear the engines working as the cog continues to pull us up the mountain. Now we're starting to get above the tree line, and you can see how things are changing. Trees are sparse and there's not a lot of vegetation. And the rock you see is called Pikes Peak granite, and it's a granite that has an interesting pink color to it. According to geologists, it was formed over 1 billion years ago. Okay, we're starting to get to the top of the summit, and the air is noticeably colder. And so I think these puffer jackets we brought are gonna come in handy. Now, I forgot to bring pants, so I'm gonna be out there in shorts. Here's a pro tip for you when you come up Pikes Peak. About an hour or so before you get on the cog train, start drinking lots of water. Water will help you with altitude sickness. But make sure you go to the bathroom before you get on the cog train because, well, there's no public restrooms and it's a good hour-long train ride. Okay, here we are at the summit of Pikes Peak, over 14,000 feet high. And I gotta tell you, the air here is really thin. You have to take some deep breaths to kind of get yourself acclimated. But the views are absolutely spectacular. In 1893, a lady by the name of Catherine Lee Bates visited Colorado, and she wanted to go up Pikes Peak. And when she got there, she was so moved by what she saw that she wrote the words which would become one of the most beloved patriotic songs in the United States. She wrote, "Oh beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain." That's right. Catherine Lee Bates wrote the words to America the Beautiful as she stood on Pikes Peak and took in the majestic beauty. Now, as you head into the Pikes Peak Visitor Center, if you're hungry, well, there's a cafeteria you can grab a bite to eat. You'll also find a museum with lots of interesting facts and exhibits about Pikes Peak. Now, the mountain is nowhere near one of the tallest mountains in the world, or even in Colorado for that fact, but its accessibility and beauty has made it one of the most well-known mountains in the world. They give you about an hour on top of the mountain, but it goes by really quick, so you need to keep your eye on your watch and make sure that you're ready to head back to the cog train for the trip down, because they will leave you if you are literally a minute late. And if they do, well, you'll have to hike down the mountain or maybe catch a ride down the mountain. They don't play games when it comes to the cog train schedule. Behind me is the original Pikes Peak Summit House. It was built in 1882 and used as a housing location for weather observers who were up here on top of Pikes Peak. It closed in 1888. Then they transitioned it to be the first summit house for visitors that came to the top of Pikes Peak. Okay, it was time to get back on the cog train and head down the mountain. As the cog train is going down the hill from Pikes Peak, you can hear it whining and the high-pitched whistle. That's because the cog is working extra hard to manage the weight of 2 train cars and all the passengers that are riding along. So it's kind of squealing. This is why you have to be on time for the train. There's 1 track up and 1 track down. The 2 cog trains share it and have to be able to pass each other, and there are only certain places that can happen, and so they have to be on time. There are several ways you can get to the top of Pikes Peak. You can take the cog train, which we did. You can drive up the 19-mile scenic drive with all of its switchbacks. Or if you're really adventurous, you can hike to the top. There's 2 main trails, the Bar Trail and the Crags Trail. The Bar Trail is the more popular. It's 13 miles and has a vertical gain of 7,400 feet. So yeah, I won't be doing that. Thanks for joining us on our trip to the top of Pikes Peak. We hope you enjoyed the adventure, and if you did, hit the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up so it spreads to more travelers, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode. This is Mark with Any Way You Travel. Take care, and we'll catch you on our next adventure.